The picture you see here is a record player. It is a vinyl record player. It was called His Master's Voice. It was called His Master's Voice. When you are talking something about your master, you don't change and you don't think, you just do what the master has done. Or nowadays they say the mistress, the boss has said. So it used to be called His Master's Voice, and that is what I found. Earlier than that, I was not there. The first vinyl record to be played in Kenya recorded in Kenya was 1961, the year that I was born. I want to talk of the evolution, starting from His Master's Voice onwards, with special emphasis on record players. His Master's Voice, as you can see it, there was a dial which looked like a 7 or a Z, which looked like a Z. One end entered into the machine, and then it came, reached somewhere, went up, then come. So you rolled it. Initial one, which I saw while I was a student at PBS Kajiado, the initial one is that you dial gently, slowly, until the record plays in full. Later on, other models which were called modern, but that time it used to be called modern in the 60s, you winded up the dial, and then after some time you just let it play automatically. The problem with the first type is that so long as the record player was playing, you rolled that round. So long as it played, you rolled round. The second, the one they were calling modern, you had the luxury of staying aside and maybe dancing or whatever. But the problem with the second type is that when you have rolled several times, the song starts at a good speed. When it goes to end, it goes in a slow motion. Let me give an example of the Kenyan national anthem. Say, "Oh God of all creation." But when the force is going to die, you say, "Oh God of all creation." Then from there, they changed that one too. First of all, they changed one which was using dry batteries alone. The good thing about this one was that with the dry cells, you could play it for a longer time, let's say even 10 times what you do manually. But then with the batteries, dry cells, you had to buy them. You see, winding it used to be free. Now you have to buy the batteries. And the batteries would play well, it would play at a very high voice when it was still new, but towards the end, and then we also had, towards the end, it would play a lower volume. The speed was the same, but the volume was lower. Such that when the batteries are new and you're playing 40%, it will play the same volume as if the batteries are low and you play it at 80 or 90%. So from there, they modified it and brought AC/DC. You could, if you choose, you could use electricity, which was alternating current, or you'd use batteries, dry cells, which is direct current. current. And what we used to do is that when you have played with your batteries and they lose their power, you could air it either on the iron sheets up or somewhere where after you have aired it on the sun, the batteries also regain their power, only that they regain for a shorter time. This was applicable both to the vinyl player and the radios. Now, the initial, his master's voice was a very simple thing. You would see that it looks like a box. Then there is the turntable. Then there is this extension, the arm. And if you look at the arm, there is a pin which plays on the vinyl record. This pin transferred sound from the vinyl into the arm. But the arm used to have a circular thing on top which also acted as a speaker. So you'd hear the voice from the handle. Later on it was extended and we could even have external speakers. The needle, if I can call it that, you used to buy several in a matchbox, so that when it plays, it reaches a time when one of the needles is completely out. You throw out and then you go to a matchbox-like box, take another one, then do that. From there, since electricity was just in major towns, and at home there used to be no electricity, people used to rely on dry cells. I can tell you, anybody owning a record player used to be the king of the village. Used to be the king of the village. Whenever there was any occasion, people could come and cajole him. Hey, Pembeleza, tafadhali. He boasts and pretends he's unwilling. And then he goes there. When he goes there, any slight annoyance would make him be annoyed and lock his thing and go home at any time. So he used to be taken care of. Some people came up and discovered a system where you bought a car battery, and this guaranteed you, when the car battery is fully charged, this guaranteed you for even a whole month playing it day and night without buying new batteries. In a local dance we used to go, it used to happen that you pay him 10 cents. Yes, I used to pay 10 cents. And then you are allowed to choose 3 records. And in those 3 records, you chose the people male. Actually, male are the ones who used to pay. And then you choose their 3 friends. And then they choose girls. And so if you went there with so many coins, and you would control the dancing the whole night. I remember almost all the people who had record players used it, had it after being annoyed by other people. They used to be annoyed by other people. You find that A annoys B. B goes to buy either a similar record player or even a better record player. Then B boasts, and then when C, when you had a record player, you never lacked visitors. We even had visitors who could come to your place with brand new dry cell batteries. They give it to you, they play until they are tired, 3 or 4 hours, they go, the batteries is not even halfway. So you'd find somebody with with so many batteries, people visiting, and when he's alone with his family, then he has a stock of batteries. As for the records, the vinyl records, we had single and long play. Single is a song that it had only one song, or if it is long, part A could be on this side and part B could be. But LP, long play, used to have several, up to 6 or 8 songs. That is 4 on this side, 4 on the other side. And then, this is now later models. Later models, you could have a record player where there was a stick extending up and you could place there several records, whether they are LPs or single. But if you're placing LPs, long plays, they have to be, all of them are got to be LPs. And if it is a single, so you could place there 3 or 4, and then you just sit aside, it records itself. It used to be so wonderful. Me, I never bought such a record player, although my father had one. And when he had one, it was called a radiogram. It was a radiogram. It was as big as a coffee table, and on one side it had a radio, just a normal radio. Those days we did not have FM. We only had medium wave and shortwave. And on the other side, it was the record player. How did we get this record player? There is somebody in Wajir, 1972, who was called A.S. Bajo. People in Wajir know about Basabra, Bajo, Bayusuf families. Those are Arabs who have stayed forever in Wajir and Garissa. So my father bought a Datsun 1200 in 1970. And when my younger brother Pius saw that Datsun, whenever he was in Wajir, you know, Wajir, there were only 2 kinds of vehicles. There was Land Cruiser, the old model, and there was the Land Rover. So whichever vehicle my brother would see, he would say, this is a useless vehicle. Dad has bought a vehicle in Nairobi. Then one day, A.S. Bajo came to our place with a Land Cruiser. And he asked my brother, hii gari na ya babako gani mzuri? He said, hii ni mzuri kushinda baba. Bajo was so shocked that he went, there are these birds which are on Nescafe or on Milo. He had such a thing that was swinging at his rear mirror. He went and took it and gave it to my brother and said, this is a temporary gift. I'm going to bring you a proper gift. Then he brought that radiogram. So he brought that radiogram because my brother Pius had said that Bajo's vehicle was the only one which was better than my father's 1200. Me, I never bought a radio player, but because we grew up that, and also I didn't like the idea. I've never liked the idea of buying something because somebody has annoyed you or because you want to. Okay, I can admire your thing. I can admire your clothes. I can say, you have a good TV. Can you show me where you bought? But let it be in good faith. This thing of going to somebody, you want to play a record player, and he denies it to you, and then you go sell a goat or a cow and go and buy a better one. My mother never taught me that. As I finish off stories about record players, we had things that was called jukebox. We had things that was called jukebox. This thing used to look like, for millenniums, I would tell you jukebox looks like, although you can Google, you can YouTube and see them, but they used to look like wall units, and they had so many records there. So you'd place there a shilling, and you are allowed to choose 2 songs. So it would go automatically, pick the vinyl record, play it, and whatever. and it used to be in all bars that had electricity. But here was the trick. Here was the trick. There are some Asians, or could I say Indians, who, I was too young to know anything, but they had, I don't know whether they had imported or they had bought or anything. You'd find that one family had jukeboxes from Kisumu to Kitale. So they would come to your bar. If your bar had electricity, request to place a jukebox there. You accept, it uses your electricity, and you get nothing. You got nothing. What they used to do is, people used to place their coins. So there was this Indian who would drive all the way from Kisumu to Kitale through all the trading centers, empty the coins that have been placed in the jukebox. Maybe you as a bar owner, the only benefit you used to get on top of losing the electricity, because the electricity used to be charged on you, is that many drunkards used to like bars that had jukeboxes. The vinyl records were replaced by radio cassettes. And that is when I joined the labor force, and I never wanted to buy a turntable. Although in discourse, they started these machines where there were 2 turntables. They had discovered that having one turntable with a vinyl, when it ends, so that when you go to change, when you go to change the other side, the hole keeps quiet or anything. So new turntables came with 2 rotating, so that when you saw this one record is going to about to end, you could now prepare the second turntable, so that as this one is finishing, you come out that. We have computerized music nowadays. You can find DJs also playing those turntables, but they are just there for entertainment purpose. During our time, it used to be 2 turntables, one on this side, and the other one on this side. Then came the cassette players. These ones were called compact cassettes. They used to be called compact cassettes. And these cassettes came in 2 versions. There was C60 and C90. C60 had a total of 60 minutes, and C90 a total of 90 minutes. So you used to go and there were 2 types also of recordings. There are those which were pre-recorded, and the other one you could record it yourself. But then by then I was in Wajir. Some people came up with special machines which came from the Somali side, from Middle East, whereby he could take your blank nini and record it, and you pay him 100 shillings. By then 100 shillings was a lot, because I remember when we were dubbing a C60 at 100 shillings, the same time we were in Mandera, we could buy a goat in Mandera 150 shillings. So 2/3 of a goat. Go to the market, find out that. Now, the challenges that we had when we came for these compact cassette is that, and that problem is there even today. We are still having that problem in, we had it in compact cassette, we had it in CD, we even have it on MP3 or whatever. And that is the stealing of music. During vinyl, hey, there was no stealing of any music. You play a song, people have already dubbed it and they are playing it. We had a system where when we wanted to rewind anything or whatever, we used to use a big biro to save our batteries. That is when I remember I wanted to buy a Sankei stereo. Yeah, that is when they came up with this thing called stereo system. My last born, in his hostel, he has something they call hoofer, with 3 speakers. Nowadays, I even find people with woofers with 5 speakers or whatever. It was 2 speakers, and it was called stereo system. That is how Franco Luambo Luanzo Makiadi nicknamed one of his musicians. He nicknamed him Madilu System, saying that he produced a voice similar to a stereo system. Stereos were replaced by CDs, and now we have even, can't talk there, memory card, sijui nini nini. When we reach there, I know a lot about lakini tukianza kuongea juu ya memory card na vitu kama hizo, MBs and whatever, let me keep quiet. I can't talk about things I don't know.